Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. I am a certified Zentangle teacher. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Zen. In these videos, I show you how to make a single tangle using the Zentangle method of drawing. The idea is that I'm teaching you one tangle, and then you'll take this tangle and use it in other artwork or on larger pieces by putting multiple tangles together. This tangle today is called Nayu. It's a beautiful tangle I've been wanting to show you for a while, but it's a little bit more complicated than some of our other ones. So I'm hoping I can break it down, and I hope that you love it. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm using a Micron PN plastic nib pen. I have a graphite pencil for some drawing and shading and a blending tool called a tortillion. And I'm doing mine on a small 2" by 2" tile from the Zentangle company called the Bijou tile. Okay, this goes a little quick, so please feel free to pause and take your time. So I'm going to start out with a pencil, and I'm going to begin by putting a dot in each of the four corners, and then connecting those dots with a pretty straight line. Now to make this tangle, you do not need a grid, but I'm going to draw a grid today just so you can kind of see how this is spaced out. So I'm going to start by putting a line across the center and a line down the center. Then I'm going to make a little dash mark a little bit below each of these four lines. I'm going to continue to use pencil, and then I will go back and do it in ink later, just so you can kind of see if you make a mistake or you don't like the spacing, we have time to fix it while we're using pencil. Okay, I'm going to make this upside down teardrop, and it's going to touch that little line up here and come down to about the halfway point between those two lines. I'm going to do another one over here. You want these to be about the same size. I'm turning my tile as I go. And then just step back and look at them and make sure they're all about the same. Okay, now comes the fun part. So I'm going to take this very first seed here, and I'm going to come down the side, the right-hand side, and I'm going to scoot it over, but not touch this point. So I'm coming down and then I'm stopping. This will all make sense. Then I'm going to go right next to it, and I'm going to make an aura, which means I'm going to go right alongside that first line. I'm going to come up and bump the top of my box and come down the other side. Okay, so I've got this little, looks like the start of a ribbon. Then I turn my tile, and now I come down the right side of this side over here, and I go all the way down to that line that I made, and see how it looks like it connects underneath. And then I take this line and I just continue it on, and I go up and over, down the other side. Same thing here. I start on that right hand side and I curve it down to here. Then I take this one and I continue it on, up and around. And try to keep these lines of a similar width. It's okay if they get a little narrow or a little thicker, but Just sort of remember that. Turning it again, and now I left the space here on the first one, especially important if you're using ink. I'm going to come down that side all the way over here as if it's connecting. And then this one comes out, goes up and around and back down. And now I can take my pencil and just fill in and connect those. And that looks so cool so far. Okay, now I am going to switch to ink. So I'm not going to ink in the box right now, but I'm just going to ink in this shape here. So I'm going to start with those little pods. And then I'm going to start my lines. You can adjust them a little bit right now, make them thicker or thinner as you're tracing. That one got really narrow, that's okay. Sometimes no matter how hard we try, our pen does what it wants to do and not what we want it to do. That looks so cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ink in these little seeds or pods or upside down teardrops. Coloring those in. And then I'm going to go in the center and I'm going to put an orb or a circle. And if you want to do this in pencil first, you can. And I'm going to put ink in those extra spaces. And then I'm going to put a little highlight in there. Okay, hopefully yours looks similar to this. Again, now I can make this in my notebook. I can make it over and over again. It just took my brain a little while to train myself how to make these lines. And you can do the same symbol with more of these pods or less of these pods, and it turns out beautiful every time. Okay, now I'm going to fill in these corners. So I'm going to put an orb on each of these sections, keeping them about the same width, and I'm filling in most of the space. Just thickening them a little bit and rounding them out as I go. Okay, now I'm going to use this pencil line frame as my guide. So I've got this little orb that should be lined up with the corner, and I'm going to make a petal that touches the corner and comes down. So I'm going on, not from the direct center, but off to the side a little bit, going up and coming down. And I'm going to put another one right here and one over here. And if you have more room and you want to put more petals or do a different petal, go ahead. And then I'm going to ink in this extra area down here. Okay, now I go to this one. I don't do the very center. I go off a little bit to the side. I go up and touch that corner and come back. And I fill in the other space with other petals. And those also touch the edge. Color in that leftover space. Do it again. Nice and slow and controlled, touching that corner. Adding more petals. And I have one more. These are so pretty. I love this so much. Okay, now I'm going to add a reflection in each of those little circles. And then I'm going to put some flicks. So a flick means I push down hard, and then as I go away, I lift my pen. I'm going to do a couple in the large one, a couple in the smaller ones. And also, if you wanted to, you could put a single line with some little dots. You can make these petals however you want. Before we shade, the last little detail that she does when she makes this is we've got all these little corners here, you know, inside our square, and she adds little orbs. And then just sort of fills in that little dark area between the orb and the petals. Just make the orb fit the space. Some might be larger, some might be smaller. But that little extra detail is so elegant. Oh, I love that. And I do have a little eraser, a kneaded eraser, and I can erase those outside lines if I want. I'm going to do a little bit of shading. So to shade these, I'm going to start with this knot or this ribbon. And every time one passes over another one, I'm going to put a little bit of shading on the outside or the one underneath. So same right here, I put a little bit on the outside or the one underneath as if it's got a shadow. I do that on each of those. I'm going to add a little bit of graphite at the bottom of each of these petals. I take my blending tool and I start with those ribbons. And just that little bit of a shadow just gives that some depth and makes it not look so flat. Just push that out and away. Out and away. And on those petals, I'm just pushing that graphite up towards the white. Just softening it. And that's all I'm going to do on this. If you want, you can add shading around the outside. You could take your tortillion and put a little bit on those orbs. You could also add color. And I highly recommend any of these tangles that I show you, I'm showing it to you as a single tangle. But if you look up Nayu, just Google Nayu, there are so many beautiful variations. And there's a woman named Tracy Ann, I can't remember what her website is called, but she does a beautiful one where she does this and like a ruffle around it. She also does a bookmark where she puts several of these side by side. So many beautiful variations. So I hope you liked it. Remember to initial your work. On the back, I always write the date and I write a little journal entry about what's going on in my life this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Have fun, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.